Hey, casual tutorial time. Let's learn lacerations. Anyway, the basic laceration looks like this. The idea is that you're using your throw hand to whip the string into the gap. You might bind if your yo-yo is a little weird, but while you're swinging the string into the gap, and then as it's hitting the gap, you put your hand into the loop, and if you're better than me, you should be able to land it. Sort of, just take a bit of practice. The hand that's doing most of the work is your throw hand, because your throw hand is what you're using to make sure the string gets into the gap. All this hand is doing is just pushing forward. That's all you're doing. So anyway, that trick is kind of, it's useful as a standalone thing. It's also kind of, if you want to, say, start a combo from there, you can do that. It's basically, it's a different way to get into the trapeze. But it's also the starting point for a whole variety of tricks that follow the same principle. One that you would learn pretty early and I think is a little easier than that normal laceration is the hook, which looks like that. And basically the idea for the hook, gotta make sure my tension's good before I try demoing this. Okay, is that you have this U shape if you hold the yo-yo like this, like you see the U shape with the slack. That's what you're going to be trying to manipulate. So anyway, as the yo-yo is like this, you form the U shape, you swing this U shape at your finger, then it'll fold over, and then you want to hit the front side of that U shape into the gap, sort of with your finger in there. It's, my tension isn't perfect right now, so it's a little difficult to explain, but that's the basic idea. Is that you make that U shape with the slack, you swing that U shape at your finger, it folds over, and you get the front part of that into the yo-yo. So, sort of thing where if you watch videos of people doing it at, from angles like that at full speed, you will be able to see that that's what they're doing. If you find videos that are slowed down a little bit, it should be pretty clear what's going on. It's actually a lot easier than it looks, because basically since you're hitting the front part of that U against the yo-yo, which is where that front part of the slack is coming from, it basically aims itself. The difficulty is more with the timing, because you're moving the slack around and you're putting your finger in, it's hitting, and then you gotta make sure everything gets, tight and good. So you're just going to be working on your timing mostly, figuring out where this hand needs to be when everything hits, but aiming shouldn't be too much of the issue. It's basically self-aiming, which is nice, because once you learn it, it's basically like riding a bicycle. So that's nice. And the other thing to note about that is that when you do it, you end up in an undermount, so in order to get out, you're going to have to do a motion kind of like that. You can mess around with the exacts on it, but also you can bind out of it. So that's neat. It's cool. I like it. Okay, a similar trick to that would be the Brent stole, which looks like that. You end up in a triangle. It's the same sort of feature as the hook. Basically, you're getting that U shape to form. You're grabbing the back side of the U, and then instead of hitting the front side of the U with your finger, you're hitting it with this segment of string. So you're going to want to bring this string so it's over the yo-yo. If you mess up, you'll end up with a green triangle knot that you can just hopefully get yourself out of. I think my tension's pretty bad. Okay, so there. Basically, the best way to do it is make sure that this string here is as close to the yo-yo, like as close to the top of the yo-yo as possible. So, there. And the size and shape and dimensions of that triangle are going to depend on where on this string you grab and where you put this string and how much space everything has. But again, it's kind of like the hook. It's basically self-aiming. Once you figure out where to put this hand, it basically aims itself. It is more of a timing trick rather than, an aiming sort of spatial sort of thing. Once you, get into your head the basic idea of where everything is going. So those are the three lacerations that you're probably going to learn pretty immediately. Another one that you're probably going to learn pretty early on is plastic whip, which I'm not great at, but it's like that. And if you're better than me, you can land it and bind out of it like that. So some other lacerations that you might not learn as quickly because they're not in a lot of the tutorial series, one of which would be you can do sort of a side style plastic whip like that, which again you can bind out of, so that's cool, one-handed bind there. Also you have, you have a one-handed laceration on this side, which just puts you in sort of a normal sort of one-handed trapeze. You know, you can get out of that however you want to. So, same sort of deal, you're swinging the string around like this, and you're aiming so that the front end of this slack you're forming goes into the yo-yo. So, take you a little bit of practice. I'm not great at it, but again, you can do that in either direction. One of them puts you in an overmount, one of them puts you in an undermount. So, learn both of those, they're fun. Then another one to do is, let's see if I can land it, is that sort of an, I think I've heard it called an underhook. The idea is basically you're doing the normal hook like that, sort of the normal hook, except instead of swinging under the yo-yo like that, you're swinging over, hitting the gap and then landing in. I messed up there, but anyway, if your tension isn't great, then you're going to have issues, so make sure you check your tension more often than I am. But there, that's the idea. You can also do that from, you can pop the yo-yo up like this to land it, which to me that's kind of, it's often a cool way to end a trick. So let's say you have a combo you're working on, and then you end it there, and then bind. And so those are basically the basic lacerations that you should learn, just sort of to be a well-rounded yo-yoer. If you want to learn more extreme lacerations, I'm not great at them, as you already saw. I'm not great at lacerations, but there are tons of interesting ones. A lot of them are based on the idea that you can sort of swing the string around multiple times before landing. So, for example, there you saw I whipped the string around twice before putting my finger in to get the hook. Again, that's the sort of thing where it's like I've said with everything, a lot of these are about timing, so you gotta work on when you stick your hand in there to get it. So, yeah, I'm not great at it there. So, same sort of idea. There are also variations on the hook, for example, where you can have the yo-yo up there, sort of mounted in there to get into a 1.5, and there are other ones where you can sort of basically get that same sort of stuff, but from sort of a dead stop, which I'm not great at, so I'm not going to cover those in much detail, but those are interesting things you can do with lacerations. Think there's anything else specific? I think we're good. Anyway, I guess the summary on all that is that a laceration is anytime you have the yo-yo at the bottom of the string and you pop it up into the mount you want to go into. And there are at least a few variations. They're pretty interesting. You can use them at the end of the trick or beginning of a trick to sort of tie everything together and make it all look pretty. And more difficult and complicated lacerations can also be used as standalone sort of banger tricks. Anyway, if you've liked the video, liking it on Reddit or YouTube helps me, makes me know that I'm doing something right. If you have questions about anything or requests for topics, let me know. Yeah, if you dislike the video, you can let me know, but probably leave a comment so I can know what you want me to work on, and I'll work on it, try to make things better. And if you have been watching, thanks.